Hi, this is Mark from TATEMS. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick overview demo of TATEMS fleet maintenance software. It's going to give you a walkthrough of each of the screens and features inside of TATEMS, and this is not going to be a full in-depth training of every feature, just a quick walkthrough. So with that being said, let's get started. TATEMS fleet maintenance software reminders. You can see here that it's set to pop up every 4 hours. You can set this to anywhere from never pop up to 8 hours. As long as TATEMS is open, this countdown timer will pop this reminder screen up every so many hours, or you can choose to have it never pop up. Also, when you first start TATEMS, it's going to ask you, do you want to check for reminders? And if there's any reminders in there, they're going to pop up this screen and show you all the ones that are currently due. So we have the reminders for inspections, which is like the 90-day or DOT type inspections, or 365, whatever number you've chosen. And then the Lube service reminders, that's for your preventative maintenance. And then your taxes and registration reminders, your permits and inspection reminders, repairs needed reminders, parts, inventory reminders, personnel, this is miscellaneous reminders for user-defined items, other driver reminders, driver's license, physicals, drug tests, and then the pending work order reminders. Each of these tabs has a print button within the tab where you can print out the list of reminders for that particular tab. And then you can also sort these reminders with these buttons up at the top here to choose what you want to put as the most critical thing to look at the top. So for example, it's negative 205 on the days to go. That means it's 205 days past due. So you can put that at the top. Or miles to go, you can see this one here is 18,000 miles past due, for example. And then when you click on print, it's going to put that up at the very top. That would be the first thing you would want to work on. And then also you can, if we go back over the inspection reminders, you have the ability to print the inspection forms, it's the checklist for each of these pieces of equipment one at a time. And then up here at the top right, you can print all the reminders list without going to each tab. It's going to go through and iterate and print out the reminders for each type of reminder, and it'll just give you a separate sheet or a couple of sheets for each reminder type. And then over here, you can choose to filter the reminders list by customer or location, or by department or area, or by equipment type. And then you can also, once you've selected one of these, like say for customer, for example, then you can choose, who or what it is you want to filter to. So we're choosing by customer, and we're going to choose the customer big toe. Then you would click apply filter, and it would show us only the reminders for big toe. And then over here on edit how soon to be notified, you can select how far in advance you want to be notified before something is due. So in this case, we set it at 1,000 miles for odometer readings. Anything based on miles is going to start showing up on this reminder screen 1,000 miles before it's due. Anything based on an hours meter reading, it's going to show up 10 hours before it's due. And anything based on days or dates, it's going to show up 10 days before it's due. So that is the reminders. Okay, and for reports, all equipment reports in TATEMS fleet maintenance software, you'll see that all these reports here are related to the entire fleet. So any of these reports, for example, all equipment list, you can look at that, preview of that, and then you'll see here that we have the option of printing or previewing. So we can go straight to the printer, the default printer that's set up in Windows, or you can go to preview and then you can choose a printer. One of the reports here is the batch reprint of work orders. It gives you a dialog box before you go ahead and complete the report. And then you'll also have a couple of other reports that have a dialog box prior to actually previewing or printing. You'll see these only have a preview icon on them. So that is the all equipment reports. Okay, and for the current equipment reports in TATEMS fleet maintenance software, underneath reports, current equipment reports, you're going to see the flyout menu here where you can select any of these reports that are related to the currently selected piece of equipment. So every report in here right now is only going to show us information relating to unit number 26. So basically click on any of these. You might have to choose a year for the report. And for example, if I go to this repairs report, and choose a year, it's going to show us the repairs for that particular year, for that particular piece of equipment. And so that's how you use the current equipment reports. Okay, and for the more reports in TATEMS fleet maintenance software, you go to reports and then more reports. Once here, you're going to be able to choose the report type: equipment, fuel log, lube service, work orders, parts inventory, parts installed, inspections, needed maintenance and repairs, or repairs completed. So any one of these you select, and then once you've selected that, you can choose the report you want to print. And then once you select that, you're going to choose your criteria. So you can do date ranges, equipment numbers, descriptions, and so forth. Various criteria depending on the report it is, report type it is. And so that is how you use reports, more reports. Okay, in TATEMS fleet maintenance software, you can search for your equipment by using these items up at the top here. So you're going to type in, for example, an equipment number, click on search, it'll bring up that particular piece of equipment. If you want to bring the entire list back up again, just remove that from the search box, click search again, and it'll show you the entire search. Also, you can search by other fields, for example, description, make, model, year, license plate number, and so forth. You can also filter the list here by customer, location, department, area, or equipment type. So for example, if you want just to see the truck tractors or some other equipment type here, you can filter the list quickly that way. And then also you can sort this list by equipment number, sort order number, description, make, model, year, and so forth. The sort order number is a numeric value because you can see we allow text in the equipment number field, and if you want to assign a numeric value to it so you can sort it by numeric values, you can use that, and then you can sort by sort order number. Click on search and it will sort it by sort order number. And that's it for the search features. To add a piece of equipment to TATEMS fleet maintenance software, you're going to click on Records, Add New Equipment, type in the equipment number, click OK. Choose an equipment type, click OK, click OK, click OK. Now that equipment type has been added, and now you're going to go ahead and fill in your description and whatever other information you want on this particular piece of equipment. It highlights this particular piece of equipment while you're working on it so that you don't accidentally click on something else and start typing and overwriting something else. And then when you're done entering in everything you need to enter in on this one, you can just remove the equipment number at the top and then click search again. It'll bring up the entire list. All right, so that's it, how you add a piece of equipment. Okay, the equipment summary screen for TATEMS fleet maintenance software just gives you the general information about that particular piece of equipment, like the serial number, VIN number, make, model, year, license plate number, the weights, who it belongs to, if it belongs to an outside customer, the location of the equipment, the department or area that it's currently in or is assigned to, and then the current odometer and hours meter reading, the lube service information, the 90-day inspection dates, driver history, and then you've also got over here on the right, you've got these various buttons here that'll pop up other screens. So here's where you enter your registration and taxes, so you can get reminders on those things. Same thing with insurance. You can get the reminders on that and see how much you're spending on insurance, your financials information, coolant testing information, oil analysis information, other miscellaneous details like number of axles, number of seats, and so forth, and custom fields that you can add to this piece of equipment, like engine serial number, for example, or any other items that you want to track. That you want to create. You can create any kind of item you want and then put in whatever the data is associated with that item. Other thing you have here on the equipment summary screen is the equipment picture, so you can add a picture associated with this piece of equipment. You can also update the odometer and hours from this screen here, from this tab. And to do that, you click on Update Odometer and Hours. You put in a new odometer meter reading, and then update and close. You can see that gets updated here on this screen here. So if we were to do an hours meter in there, you could do the same thing. All right, so that's it for the equipment summary tab. All right, in TATEMS fleet maintenance software, bulk, odometer, and hours entries. Just click on forms and then bulk, odometer, and hours entries. And from here, you can go through and enter the odometer reading and the date, or the hours meter reading and the date for each piece of equipment in your entire fleet, so you don't have to go and click on each piece of equipment to update the odometer reading. Once you've entered a new reading, you just click save and close. It'll update all the equipment with a new reading. You can also export this list to Excel and then fill it out in Excel and then re-import it back from Excel if you want to. So that's it for the bulk, odometer, and hours entries. Okay, and in TATEMS fleet maintenance software, we're going to show you the 90-day inspections. And first of all, we're going to show you can change the 90-day inspections interval to some other interval. And this is going to be a global setting, so it'll apply to all equipment. So I'm going to go over here to File Setup and then change global inspection interval. And if we were to change that to 365, which it is in some locations, click close, you can see it's been changed to 365 here and over in the equipment summary page as well. And all your reminders will be changed as well to be based upon 365. I'm going to go back in here to File Setup. I'm going to change that back to 90. And then we're going to also show you how to change or edit or add to the inspection items list for the 90-day inspections. We click this button here. You can see we have the inspection items for the 90-day inspections for truck, tractor. If we wanted to change this to some other equipment type like trailer, you can see that's a different list. Now you can add to this list by just typing in here, and then you can also change the sort order of these items so that they'll be in a different order for your checklist. And then you can copy from one list to another to populate a new equipment type if you need to. All right, so that is the inspection items list that you can customize or edit. Let's go over to the 90-day inspections now. To add a 90-day inspection, you can just click on Add Inspection, and then you're going to just choose the inspector's name, date inspected, and so forth, odometer reading. You can mark them all as okay. You can clear that list if they're marked okay or defective. And then you can also copy the defective items to a work order, or you can open an existing work order that you already created based upon this. And you can also copy them to the needed maintenance and repairs tab instead if you don't want to create a work order out of it. You can also print the inspection list, a single printout, and then you can hand that off to who's ever doing the inspection so they can check them off. And then you can bring that back into TATEMS here and mark each item as okay or defective. All right, so that is the 90-day inspections tab. Okay, and for TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Lube Service tab, this is where you set up your history and your reminders and so forth for your lube services or preventative maintenance items. And so in here, you would just add in the next, when you have a lube service that you're completing, you would just enter in what it is, put in the date and so forth, who did it, check off the items that were completed. You can also click here to go to more, and you can add additional items here. You can add any items you need to that are specific to this piece of equipment, or you can also use these items as a template for future pieces of equipment. We click here to import items from an existing lube service. We can do that, and then we could choose a lube service done before, and then you can import those items into this existing lube service that we're working on right now. And you can also create a work order from the lube service. So if we were to check off these items, we could click on work order, it would open up and create a work order and put these items that we're checking off into the work order. So that's it for the lube service. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Needed Maintenance and Repairs tab. This tab, the repairs completed and the parts for this equipment, typically going to be used if you're not using work orders. You just want something quick and easy and short to keep track of repairs completed and parts. So the needed maintenance repairs, you just enter in whatever the repair is. You've got about 200 characters here. When you want it completed by and the completed date. Once it's done, you can transfer this needed maintenance and repair over to the completed repair by clicking this little chat tab here. And then you can filter out these lists by these days filters or date ranges. And so that's it for needed maintenance and repairs. For TATEMS fleet maintenance software repairs completed, basically you would use this probably if you're not going to be using work orders. You could also use this in case you want to just write in a quick description of a repair done by an outside vendor, for example. Although you don't really have a vendor field here, you could just say what the repair was and put a dash and who did it. You have about 200 characters here that you can enter into for repairs completed, and you have a lot more space on the work orders for much more detailed information if you want to keep track of repairs on work orders instead of repairs completed. So that's it for repairs completed. In TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Parts for this Equipment tab, this is where you can keep track of all the parts installed on a particular piece of equipment. This is not related to the parts inventory though, or work orders. I mean, although you can link the part to a work order, and we'll show you that when we get over to the work orders part. But basically, if you're not using work orders, you can use the parts for this equipment to keep track of every part installed. You can also use this just as a place to keep track of commonly used parts, like belts, brake shoes, brake pads, whatever, items that may be replaced fairly often that you want to have a list of parts for this particular piece of equipment. You can keep track of them in here, and then you don't have to go looking up the part number in the future. You know exactly what you need. All right, so that's it for the parts for this equipment tab. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Work Orders. So here on the Work Orders tab, double click to open up an existing work order. We can see here the description, the labor completed, the parts and materials used, and or attachments. Each of these tabs has a little button where you can pop up. Actually, the labor and the parts and materials has a button that you can click. So you click here to add labor. You can choose the employee, or if it's going to be the vendor, you would choose that. That takes away the drop down. And the description of the labor, how many units or hours it was, cost per unit, and if you want to choose a repair code associated with that particular labor item. And you can click on add, and that will add that to the list. And you can also do the same thing with parts and materials used. Click on add here. You're going to bring up the parts and materials used. This is where you can deduct these parts from inventory. And you can see on the drop down here if we've got anything in inventory on that particular item. On this one, it shows 12 on hand. We can deduct that and from the inventory and so forth. So, and also you can assign repair codes to these. So you can add multiple parts items and labor items to each work order. Also on this parts or materials used tab, we have a button here that says click to add these parts to the parts for this equipment tab for this equipment. So over here on the parts for this equipment tab, if you want to keep a running list of all the parts installed on a particular work order or on every work order, then you want to click this button here. It will add all the parts listed in this list here to the parts for this equipment tab for this piece of equipment. And then over here on the descriptions, we have the ability to choose who's doing the servicing, multiple short descriptions, unlimited amount of short descriptions. On the detailed descriptions, you can enter in up to 65,000 characters. And also you can use templates. What you can do is you create a template. So if you've created a work order and it has specific items that you're going to redo over and over again, you can save it as a template, and then you can use that template to populate a brand new work order. And you'll put in all the short descriptions, detailed descriptions, the labor, the materials to populate that new work order with the existing template. And then you can go in and just make any minor adjustments that you need to as far as quantities and so forth. So that is a quick overview of the work orders screen. Okay, for TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Work Orders list, in here we can see the entire list of all either open or closed work orders or all work orders. You can sort them by any of these columns here. You can search for by equipment number. You can double click any of these to bring up that particular work order and do any changes or edits you need to do to it. And that's basically it for the work orders list. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Parts Inventory screen. You go to Forms and then Parts Inventory. And you can see we have here the ability to add or edit existing parts. You can enter in the cost, the selling price, how you want to mark it up, information like the bin location, bin number, quantity on hand, whether you want to track it for reminders, or minimum quantity before reorder, and how many are being reordered. Every place this part has been installed will be listed down below. Work order number, the cost at the time of installation. You can also print a label for this part if you want to. So that's it for the parts inventory screen. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Parts Inventory List for quick editing. Click on that and we can see the entire parts inventory list here, and you can sort by these columns. You can search for a specific part by typing in up here. For example, that'll narrow the list down. And then you can also filter by bin location or status, and you can also do bulk markups from here if you want to change the selling price for any of those in the markup method. So basically you can edit or even add parts from this screen as well. All right, that's it for the parts inventory list quick edit. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Inspections and Permits tab. Basically, you have a list of items that you can keep track of, that you can get reminders for. So DOT inspection, 90-day permit, annual state inspection. And what you do here is just put in the date it was last completed, and then it's going to automatically calculate the date that it's next due. And you can set the interval right here by changing the interval so that it'll automatically calculate for you. And these intervals can be different on each piece of equipment, but it comes defaulted to 365 for an annual or 90 days for a 90-day. This would be an annual. These ones are going to be defaulted to 365. And then you can print the inspections and permits for all equipment, and it's going to ask you what month you want to look at. So if I look at June, and then you can see here these ones that are underlined and bolded are the ones that are currently due in June. So that's it for the inspections and permits. In TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Fuel Log, you can keep track of all the fuel purchased for a particular piece of equipment. You can see the criteria for date ranges, how much you're spending. You can see total gallons, total miles, total cost per mile, and miles per gallon or per liter, or kilometers per gallon per liter. You can also track fuel by hours meter if you want to. This drop down here would indicate the state that the fuel was purchased in. And if I double click this, you can also track where you traveled during this particular trip. So you can have different states. You can have the beginning and ending odometer reading in that state, total miles for that state, and then or province, and then you can run reports for date ranges to see how many miles you traveled in each particular state. And so that's it for the fuel log. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Tires and Wheels tab. This allows you to track what tires or wheels were installed where on each piece of equipment, and gives you more details about the tire, like the model, the tire size, odometer at the time of installation, and the installation date. So this is informational data that you can use. This will also be pulled into the unit information report and to show you the tire sizes on there when the DOT asks for that information. All right, so that's it for the Tires and Wheels tab. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Notes tab. In this section, you can keep track of any kind of free-form notes that you want to keep track of. You can have up to 255 characters per note, and you're just going to have the date of the note and just type in whatever you need to as far as the notes goes. You can also use this if you want to keep track of other equipment on board that particular piece of equipment, like ropes, chains, certain tools. You can keep track of those items in here if you want to as well. All right, so that's it for the Notes tab. For TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Notes List, you go to Forms and then Notes List. This gives you a list of every note in the entire fleet for all the equipment. You can search the notes by a keyword, for example, service, and you can see it brings up the one item we had for service. You can also double click on this and it'll bring up that particular piece of equipment and that note as well. It'll bring up that tab, the Notes tab, to show you that. So that's it for the Notes list. Okay, in TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Filters tab, here you can enter in each of the filter numbers for this particular piece of equipment. So you can just have quick reference to the filters. You can also print out the list of filters here with this print button down below. Just click on that and you can see that the filters are printed out there for that particular piece of equipment. And that's it for the Filters tab. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Attachments tab. Here you can attach documents, photographs, any kind of file on your hard drive, you can attach to that piece of equipment. And if it's associated with a work order, you'll see the work order number, ID number here. Once you've attached a file, you can click on this magnifying glass icon, and that will open up that file in whatever Windows uses to open that particular file type. That's it for the Attachments tab. For TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Personnel form, go to Forms and then Personnel, and then we can choose a particular person in the list. You can add your personnel to this list. You can choose if they're a driver, a fleet technician, other description. You can keep track of things like their driver's license number, their last physical, next physical, last motor vehicle report pulled, next time it's supposed to be pulled, in how many months, the last drug test, the drug test interval, the last results. You can also put in emergency information, any additional licenses, permits, or endorsements, or miscellaneous information you can put in here. And you can also attach things like photograph of the person, driver's license, documents that you want to attach to this particular person. So that is the personnel form, a quick overview of that. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Customers form. You go to Forms and you're going to go to Customers, and here you can enter in the customer information, and then this customer can be used in this drop down here on the equipment, so you can assign each piece of equipment to its own customer. All right, so that is the customer's details. In TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software Dropdown List Maintenance, this is where you can set the values for each of the drop-down lists inside of TATEMS. For example, location, department, or area. You could do the Lube service type from there. You can also add to these lists on the fly as you type something new in. It'll ask you if you want to add it to the list. But if you need to edit the list or add to it from the drop-down list maintenance screen, you can do that here. So if we look at the loop service types, for example, you can see you can add the loop service type, the mileage interval or kilometers interval, the hours meter interval, or the days interval, and you give it its name. And you can add these on this screen here, and you can do that on various drop downs underneath drop down list maintenance, and you can see we have a big list of items there that you can edit or add to. So that's it for the drop down list maintenance. TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software, we have a feature called Simplify TATEMS. So if you click on Tools and then Simplify TATEMS, you can choose to hide tabs that you don't need or don't want to be shown to the particular user. But for example, if I wanted to get rid of fuel log, the parts for this equipment, repairs completed, needed maintenance and repairs, just go ahead and uncheck those items, click Close, and then those tabs will disappear from the available tabs on the main screen. So that is how you use Simplify TATEMS. In TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software, you can edit the tab names. So you go to Tools and then Edit Tab Names. And here you can give these tab names a name that may be more suitable for what you would like. So maybe instead of Lube Service, you want to put PMs, for example. Put that in there, you click Close, you can see it rename that tab to PMs. All right, so that's how the Edit Tab Names feature works. In TATEMS Fleet Maintenance Software, we have a hazardous waste inspection log, basically for your shop. So you can enter in there, basically you'll see the instructions here, like for example, there are no spills currently in progress, any spills have been cleaned up, and this area is absent of any standing fluids. So you put in the date, checked off the checkbox that says inspection, you choose the employee, and then you would put in any comments, and then you can save that. And you can print out this list as you want to, and you can see this particular date ranges. All right, so that's it for the hazardous waste inspection log. For TATEMS fleet maintenance software networking, so if you want to network TATEMS and share the single database between multiple computers, you click on Tools and Networking, and then you can choose this little open folder icon to navigate to wherever the database is located. You would double click on it. That would insert it in here for you, and then you're going to click Link Now. It'll link it up to the database on the server or on another computer in your network. So that is the networking tool. For TATEMS fleet maintenance software backup, you can click on Tools, and then you're going to choose Backup in Compact Data. And then from here, you're going to choose the location of where you want to back up to using the open folder icon. Once you've done that, then you can click on Start and it'll run the backup. You can also set up TATEMS to backup or ask you if you want to back up every time you close TATEMS, and it'll back up to the last place you backed up to. You can also have it automatically back up every time you exit TATEMS. It'll just automatically back up. All right, so that's it for the backup feature inside of TATEMS. For TATEMS fleet maintenance software preferences, you go to Tools and Preferences, and here you have various things that you can choose as a preference for the way it works on your installation on your computer. So you can choose to display out of service equipment on reports. You can choose how it's going to default to the search and the sort. You can resize the screen for higher resolution monitors. You can choose to hide out of service equipment on the search list, hide out of service equipment on the work orders list. You can have it stop asking to back up when you're closing TATEMS. You can have it stop asking to check for reminders when you first start TATEMS, and to stop displaying that little pop-up message that tells you to click on a piece of equipment to display all the tabs. You can also choose your thresholds for updating odometer and hours. Also choose to stop asking to update odometer and hours from other tabs, or always update odometer and hours from other tabs. You can insert billing terms here if you want to have that added to the bottom of a work order or invoice. And then over here on this tab, we have work orders and invoice preferences. You can choose different work order printout formats. We have a few in there. These other items are self-explanatory. All right, so that is it for the miscellaneous user preferences. Okay, that's a wrap. I hope you've enjoyed this overview demo of TATEMS fleet maintenance software. You can find more in-depth videos at tatems.com/help. And if you have any questions, you can contact us via live chat or email us at sales.support@tatems.com. Thanks a lot for watching, and have a good one. Take care.